This is a video about Wriothesley's best weapon and artifacts based on my current theory crafting results. In the last video I updated you all on the fact he might not be quite as bad as I initially thought, and on the contrary, he has the potential to be a pretty solid character. Aside from this, he's also a more varied character than UV had, so theory crafting him is taking me more effort than usual. This is because he fits on multiple different team archetypes, each of them favoring different build choices. Also, there is more uncertainty about his combos and rotations as of right now, which makes everything all the more vague. For now, I'm assuming he'll burst every other rotation on most teams, since he won't be paired with a reliable cryo battery most of the time, and also I made different assumptions on combos based on attack speed value. Before we jump to the actual analysis, I want to remind you all to hit the subscribe button and leave a thumbs up if you enjoy my work. I've also been updating my Patreon with additional analysis on beta theory crafting recently, so definitely check that out if you want to have a bigger picture. First things first, the weapons combos. As I told you earlier, based on some findings I've analyzed, it's possible to do combos that vary quite significantly in damage based on attack speed. In particular, his signature and Wanderer's signature both give attack speed, which enables him to dish out combos that are around 10% stronger than combos with no attack speed. Note that this is without any weapon difference taken into consideration. Basically, this means that by default, without any other effect in play, the attack speed is already a noticeable difference in rotational damage for Wriothesley. The other things to note is that on some teams his crit rate values can get pretty high, specifically the ones where he has cryo teammates, or even worse, freezes in play. This is also because his best artifact choices constantly provide him with more than 30% crit rate, which just makes high crit rate weapons like Lost Prayer difficult to maximize in terms of substats. I really want to highlight this, because the amount of available crit rate substats before you reach the cap if you have a high crit rate weapon is absurdly low, and frankly unrealistic. So let's take a look at his weapon rankings in teams that include Bennett and a cryo teammate, but where there is no melt. As you might have expected from what I've shown you earlier in terms of combo difference, attack speed choices just dominate here. On the other hand, weapons like Lost Prayer are penalized even in perfect crit rate substats scenarios, because even if you somehow manage to get just 2 crit rate substats with it, you can't just assume the rest will go all into crit damage. So weighted distribution of substats into attack percent and crit damage makes its outlook seem worse than a perfect crit damage situation. Other than that, the other weapons are just unimpressive. Witsit does pretty poorly here, because its effects will only last for 10 seconds and only once every other rotation. Wriothesley will generally have around 16 seconds of field time due to hit lag, which means Witsit will only buff it for half of that, and then it almost surely won't buff him for the entirety of the other rotation. Generally, in case you don't have the top 2 weapons in this list, you will quite clearly feel the difference in damage. Melt scenarios make it a tiny bit better. The difference in combo damage here is roughly the same, as faster combo scenarios also help you get additional melt on average. So, again, his signature and any other attack speed weapon really magnifies the damage. However, there is a key difference here compared to the previous scenario, namely the fact that the other weapons stack up better in terms of secondary stat and passive here. The lack of Kazuha on the team and the presence of Pyro Resonance makes attack scale worse than before, so lower base attack weapons like Lost Prayer fare much better here, considering there also isn't the same level of crit saturation here in play. Witsit is also considerably better, because on this team all 3 of its passive effects will benefit Wriothesley hugely, much better compared to the last scenario, where Elemental Mastery had no business being considered a favorable buff. High base attack weapons like Atlas suffer mightily here, but in general, the outlook in terms of weapon choices looks way more flexible on meth teams than other types of teams, thanks to the overall team construction and stat distribution. A key aspect on melt teams is also that Wriothesley generally prefers an Elemental Mastery Sands here, just like Hutao and Diluco in some scenarios on vape teams. The difference between attack and Elemental Mastery here is made bigger by the fact melt teams are taught with Shen He in mind, as she seems the best 4th slot currently, but in general Elemental Mastery is an extremely competitive option for this scenario, as it should obviously be. To add on this, in terms of artifacts, there are varying results here as well based on the archetype. An obviously conditional artifact set here is Blizzard Slayer, which will only perform really well on freeze teams. In general, compared to other artifacts, Blizzard has always been arguably the best artifact set in terms of buffs provided at full potential, and this Wriothesley case makes no exception, since on freeze teams it even edges out the new Marashu C set, so the one that has got released for characters like Wriothesley specifically. By characters like Wriothesley, I mean characters that can consistently inflict themselves damage and keep the artifact stacks up consistently. Practically, 3 normal attacks will be enough to reach max stacks with Wriothesley, and then you'll be able to keep them up like that for the entirety of the rotation. Echoes also makes an appearance. Ayato's signature set has always been a solid pick for normal attack spam characters, and I have to say it fares pretty decently here. Considering it recently got added to the strong box, odds are you might be able to snatch a very solid full set of it relatively easily. On melt teams, the scenario mostly changes because there is no room for Blizzard Slayer, and also the fact Echoes is devalued here due to the presence of strong charge attack hits. Replacing them, Lava Walker and the Gilded Dream set are okay options, but in this scenario the Marashu C set just dominates all around, and it's the clear best pick you should farm for. Real talk, this set is just awesome, because it will always be the best pick or close to it on all of Wriothesley's teams. This makes Marashu C the clear best in slot option if you want to aim for a specific artifact set to farm, since even on freeze teams, the difference between that and Blizzard Slayer is pretty minimal. In terms of artifact stats, as I said earlier, Elemental Mastery Goblet for melt teams is generally preferable. Other than that, I'm assuming he won't be able to burst every rotation as of right now, so investing on energy recharge is not worth. While this might very well change with new rotations findings, to me it looks like his burst is just not strong enough to invest particular energy recharge for it regardless. I'm done for today. I'll make sure to keep you updated on future discoveries, so stay tuned for that.